All right, we're back. Brendan, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you. Looks like shaping up to be a pretty busy house in the Monroe household.
Yeah, we got lots of family over. Just the kind of thing you want this time of year. Lots of
Yeah,
smiles, lots of big dinners, get-togethers, that kind of thing.
you feel like a brown person this time of year with everybody in the house, right?
It's the way of life. It's the way of life. Just surround yourself with family and hope for the best.
It's what matters the most at the end of the day.
Take the good with the bad, and you have less meals to plan, right? You can just cook one big meal for everybody for 3 days. I guess it works.
Yeah, yep. Lots of leftovers too. All right, so lots of stuff happening. Want to revisit a couple of these trades. Let's start off with Canuck Nation. My take still stands. I think they lost that trade, but they won some hockey games in the last little bit here.
That's fine.
And
The goaltender comes back off of IR
yeah,
to win some games.
that's what happens when you get some goaltending. Exactly. So again, I'm going to stand behind what I was saying last time. I feel like, and I think you agreed with me. You articulated it much better than I did. They didn't necessarily have to make this move. I was talking to somebody last night actually, and he was saying to me that that's one of the things that he's noticed with the Alvin Rutherford tandem is once somebody's made it clear that they don't want to be in Vancouver, they move them out. And I don't necessarily think that that's the best move here, best thing to do, right? Especially when you have control, right?
Yeah, if you're running a small business and somebody shows a bad attitude and they don't want to be there, then you can let them go. The cost of replacement of that employee is probably pretty low. But when you have a star performer in an NHL that only has, a few hundred players available around the whole league and somebody's not happy, I mean, he's not happy to be there, or maybe the team's not happy to have him on the team. Like both sides could be true for any given player, but you can't just walk away. You can't say, you know what, we're not happy with Trent Frederick as an Oilers signing, so like we're just gonna fire you. Like it doesn't work that way. And the player can't just be miserable midway through their contract and say, like, I need out now. There has to be a really good reason to leave, and there has to be a mutual interest on both sides to get something done. Otherwise, you're just going to throw assets away trying to placate a player, and you're never going to get the return you really need. Like the GMs know if somebody's not happy where they are and they want to trade or requested a trade, suddenly the package that's being offered the other way goes way down.
It
That's just
goes way.
normal.
And you brought up an interesting point. There was a point in time, and you can argue and you can say that it's a shift and a balance of power transfer, where the ownership and the team had more control, and it's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that as a player, you've signed this contract, and maybe I still have whiplash and post-traumatic stress from 2006 when Pronger was signed for another 4 or 5 years, wanted out, and we did the exact same thing Vancouver did, right? I just think you make a commitment. Thoughts in my head right now are going to the NFL and the NBA, where contracts don't mean anything anymore, because you sign something and then a year later someone else got a better deal, and all of a sudden you're not happy, so you just don't show up to work, right? Imagine if you didn't show up to work, would they renegotiate your contract?
Yeah, you're not exactly in the best position at that point.
Yeah.
So I think
So I mean,
I think your take was good that the Canucks got a decent package coming back the other way, but they probably didn't win that trade. At least it doesn't seem evident at the moment. And like the nuance is that they probably could have got a pretty similar package 12 months from now. If you really wanted to move Hughes out before he was an unrestricted free agent, you probably could have got a package from somebody similar to what they're getting for Quinn Hughes today.
and
So you
that's
would have,
exactly my point.
yeah,
You just made it a lot better. Um, the thing I think a lot of people are missing out on is he still has 1 year left on his contract. So even if you move him in the summertime, still got 1 year left, right? And you know, I I I I think about some of these other situations where you know you look at Colorado. We go back to 2016, right? Matt Duchene wants out. They want Matt Duchene out. They've got like McKinnon and all these guys coming in. I think Sakic at the time held on to him until probably midway through the season, maybe at the trade deadline, and Ottawa ends up giving up quite a bit for him in comparison to what Edmonton got for Taylor Hall. And at that time, I think it's a pretty fair argument that Hall was a better player, right? Um, and then someone else in the comments was saying that, you never win the best, you never win the deal when you're giving up the best player. Go back to, Quebec, right? Look at the haul they got for Eric Lindros, and they didn't move him right away when he said he didn't want to play, right? They got a bidding war going, and I mean, they ended up getting Peter Forsberg, who arguably had a better career, but look at that haul that they got for him, right? And again, Lindros hadn't played a game yet. This is undeniably one of the top 3 best defensemen in the league, right? On any given night, he could be the number 1 defenseman in the NHL, right?
Yeah,
and
I think they rushed it. I think that they could have taken more time. Trade deadline, maybe summer for sure. Start of next season, trade deadline next season. Lots of options. It just seemed like it happened really fast. There's smoke, there was fire. Suddenly there was a deal done, and if that's what you get for a bidding war, was New Jersey and Minnesota competing, and that's the package you get. Like, didn't seem like there's interest from 32 teams because
no,
because
Did,
that's
was
not
everybody?
the haul you get. That's not the haul you get in an open auction with 32 teams asking or making bids for one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yeah, I mean, again, doubling down on this take. I think that they could have done better. And I mean, the comments that I received from various different Canuck fans is, he's not going to sign here. His value is going to go down, and we need to tank. I can understand the tanking part. However, this guy didn't want to be here because he was tired of not winning, right? What happens when Thatcher Demko's healthy? Much better hockey club, right? And when you have like you had mentioned too, you have the possibility of convincing him to stay. Maybe I mean, honestly, now you've basically got Elias Peterson's your lone superstar that's remaining. Are they going to move on from him? Are they really going to break this down? Do they get rid of Brock Besser, who just re-signed? What kind of look is that when you just committed long term to both Demko and Besser, right? I don't again, if he comes to you and he says he doesn't want to re-sign here because we're not winning, maybe a few weeks changes that. Maybe half the season later, maybe you make some other moves. Maybe you get rid of the people, someone else, and he's happy to stay, right? I don't know. Again, is this deal not going to be available in January? It probably would be available in January. So give it at least a couple of months, right?
The other thing too that no one talks about is you have this Olympic break coming up, and let's say Hughes goes through the Olympics without getting hurt, right? And has a good Olympics. I can almost promise you that somebody at that top level is going to get hurt during the Olympics. Like there's going to be some defenseman that blocks a shot or makes a check in the end boards, and they're playing really hard, like playoff style hockey in a very short duration tournament. There's going to be somebody who goes out there after the Olympics and says, "Oh man, our star defenseman's hurt. We need to get somebody who's
exactly
available. Quinn Hughes is available." Well, we're in the last stretch drive of the year. We need to win these games. We need to secure a playoff position. We'll pull the trigger. We'll pay the price.
Exactly.
So
it's a good take.
It's just boggles my mind.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, not our team. Whatever. The other thing, they traded him in the conference. But let's move on. Let's talk about our boys. I don't know. I sit here and I'm not batting 1,000. No one ever bets 1,000. But it didn't take a rocket scientist to question the Skinner move. And 2.25 games in, what do we have here? We have Jarry ending up on the IR.
Yeah, I'm sure that Bowman's looking at the return policy for the Pittsburgh Penguins, trying to slap a QR code and self-printed label on there and trying to rush Jarry back to the UPS store to see if Pittsburgh will take him back within the first 30 days.
Checking the fine print in that contract.
No returns and exchanges between December 31st or December 26th and December 31st. But it's bad, that somebody can make a trade for a player that gets hurt within a couple of games. That's not.
Listen, I can understand that you want to make a change. We talked about all of this, but I mean, like, all of a sudden the player doesn't become healthy. There's 10. We said the same thing about Waltman in the offseason. He's born in 1996, so he's 29 years old, going on 30. He's had one season where he's played like relative. I don't think he's played 80 games before, right? There's some news reports that came out saying that Jarry's only been in 10 years. He's only missed 35 games. But if you look at his numbers, he hasn't played starter numbers, right? When this trade happened, you brought it up and you were like, looks like he's a good backup. Right?
Yeah, he's been a great backup his whole career. He's never had to carry the big workload for the whole season. And that's going to be a question mark going forward now is if he does get back healthy and is playing well, is he going to have, the stamina and the durability to be your guy throughout the season, or would the Oilers just trade for some lesser version of Demko for, almost similar money? It's a big question mark. So, I mean, the first two games look fine. I think the big change is just the change of attitude in the defensive zone. Like they're going to start to make some plays where they're not gripping their stick so tight. They're making smarter plays at the blue line. They're not worried about giving up a breakaway because they know it's an automatic goal. Like those things change a hockey team.
For sure, for sure. I mean,
he got the wins. Like he doesn't have losses in the games he played. So it's a start.
He didn't look terrible. There's a couple of ones that I'm sure he wanted to have back. The Toronto game, that first goal. But again, if you break that first goal down, the defensive gurus of the world will point at Bouchard saying he was really weak on his man, right? So
Jarry
I didn't really
particularly. He made the save.
What's that?
It was a weak, on that first goal. He made the save. It was a weak rebound, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just a weak rebound, but that happens, right? Yeah, I wasn't like. Let's pause for a second before we jump into the play because I thought he was relatively all right the first few games. It's more along the lines of just the thought process that with Ken Holland, you could sort of see the logic behind the moves. When we peel back the layers a little bit with Peter Chiarelli and even Stan Bowman here, and I'm not comparing the two, although if we go down and look at the track record, I don't know, man. There's a lot more losses in my books than wins so far. Trent Frederick, even I'm going to die on this hill, but even if he ended up scoring 50 goals this year, at the time that was a pretty ridiculous move, giving him an 8-year deal. What was a comparable? Peter Engvall, Leo Komarev, right?
Yeah.
Pierre yeah, Pierre, whatever. But the logic behind this, we didn't want Gibson because he's got health issues, and the knock on Demko, again, we had an opportunity to visit that in the off season, and they didn't want to pay up because of the injury history, and we end up with Jarry.
They hoped it would work out with Skinner, and 30 games in, they could tell it's not going to work out with Skinner. So
yeah, I guess they had that internal. We're going to give you guys 30 games to see where this goes. I don't know. Anyways,
it's been such a weird season cheering for the Oilers, right? You have the second crushing Stanley Cup final as a fan, and then you basically bring back the same team, top six, and the defensive core and the same goalies. Like all the changes happened in the bottom six, really. Where depending where you want to slot Corey Perry, but those are replacement level players in the NHL. So you're thinking you're coming back and you're going to be a contender. And the first 25 games were pretty rough. And despite all that, they're suddenly 2 points out of the division lead heading into Christmas. If they win tonight and Anaheim loses their next game, suddenly Edmonton's tied for first place in the Pacific Division. That's not a bad hockey team. That's like in first place in the division.
Who would have thought that even 2 weeks ago?
Right? I know. So it's been terrible, but it's also been quietly good. And the same as the goaltending. Like the goaltending's been terrible, but at times it's been quietly good. And the defense has been terrible, but at times it's been quietly good. And Connor McDavid's been terrible, except he's on one hell of a heater right now, and suddenly he's winning hockey games single-handedly for his team.
I remember it wasn't too long ago where we were laughing at him because he was saying that he wanted to score more goals, and he had like 4 shots on net, right? No goals, 3 goals, 2 goals. How long did it take for him to get his first goal? Like 8-9 games into the season, and he's at 23 now, and he's leading the NHL in scoring. He was like 64th just a couple of weeks ago, right?
I'm telling you, the greatest contract signing in Oilers history was getting Connor McDavid extended for like an extra 2 years at $12 million. But the second best contract in Oilers history was Zachary Martin Hyman at 5.5 or whatever it was. Because as soon as that guy came back into the lineup and Nugent Hopkins came back in the lineup, McDavid became just a different player.
It was just crazy. I mean, it's funny. We're sitting here, and this is the third year in a row where the team's done a complete 180 in and around the same time, right? Calvin Pickard was the hero in 2024. Played a lot of games in there when we had that 14-game winning streak. And last year, I don't even remember what happened. I think Stuart Skinner went on a bit of a heater. And I don't know. This year it's been interesting. I mean, you brought up an interesting point. I think that, as the playoffs wore on last year, I feel like the bottom six started to contribute less and less, especially in that Florida series. They kind of fell off. And Ahmed had mentioned this in one of the summer podcasts, talking about how guys like Perry and Brown, Arvidsson, all these guys, they seem to like run out of gas. And McDavid was kind of pissed off that, Hyman goes down and we have Corey Perry that steps up and he's like first line right winger. Like, what the hell is that, right? And that's not really a knock on Corey Perry. I mean, he's a great player. He's, been phenomenal in his career, but he's 40 years old, right? And so the thought of injecting this youth came into play. And then, I mean, just going back to what you were saying, was it's going to take a bit of time because we have 11, 12 new additions to the roster, right? But I think a big part of this is McDavid and Draisaitl also weren't McDavid and Draisaitl at the start of the year. And it just goes to show that, most of the NHL is pretty even. There's a lot of parity across the board. Your Matt Savoys and, I don't know, Keith for Sherwoods and whatever, they're all pretty, interchangeable, if you will.
They're good hockey players.
They're good hockey players. But where you really move the needle is, that top end. And, once our top end started to fire, I mean, look at Evan Bouchard, right? There was a Calgary Flame fan I have on Facebook, and for the first 5 games of the season was just railing on Bouchard. No points, no assists. He's got as many points. He's got the exact same stat line as Mitch Marner does right now, right? Pretty insane.
I always like to look back on how the NHL, whether it's today or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, very much mirrors the NHL 95 experience that the programmers of EA Sports managed to capture, which was that all the NHL players are essentially like pretty good and interchangeable, except Jeremy Roenick, because when he's on the ice, he can score as many goals as you want. He's just better than everybody else out there. Or it's like Tecmo football from when, like back in the 80s, where you had Bo Jackson, like no one saw Bo Jackson running around in Tecmo football. And it's kind of the same with McDavid. He's just a video game character who's just faster and better than everybody else. When he turns it on, when he's feeling it, like look at the goals he's scoring against Toronto at full speed, against Pittsburgh at full speed, against Vegas at full speed. Like we used to get 1 or 2 goals like that a season, even from McDavid. But now he's giving us one a game. Like it's crazy to watch.
This is the best I've seen him in a regular season in the last 3 years, right? Obviously, I was asking this question to you offline, what is it? Obviously deep playoff runs take a toll. The last 5 years, this franchise has lost to the eventual Stanley Cup champion, going all the way back to 2022, where they made the conference finals and they lost in the second round. And then they made the finals, then they made the finals, right? A lot of hockey. And, at the end of the day, I almost forget just watching him that he is a human being, right? It's crazy though. Even Low Tide and Gregor as well. Low Tide, I think it said that the analytics show that he's past his prime, and a player like this does not age well because he's so much dependent on speed. And this is the thing where my mind was boggled, because absolutely he has a ton of speed, but he doesn't beat you just with a ton of speed. It's that change of direction, and when he slows it down, he's even more dangerous, right? Because then that kind of lulls you into.
It was obviously brilliant of Bowman to sign him for a 2-year deal instead of an 8-year deal, because he obviously will, slow down and fade and not be worth the contract by year 8. Is that what you're saying? According to the analytics guys.
Well, according to the analytics guys, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like, this is great to see. We can still see that, he's probably the best player in the league, and it's not close.
He's causing problems. He's causing problems for people in the Oilers' home arena with their $14 beers in their hand, jumping up and spilling their beer over, watching them skate down the ice at full speed, scoring goals like that.
Back in the 5 years ago, we would see something every shift, right? And in the last 3 weeks, we've seen something almost every shift. He's looked extremely dangerous, right? Sometimes in his own zone, he's been dangerous, right? Like setting up. What was it? Was that the Montreal game where he just set up the Montreal guy?
Yeah, I think he gifted them one in that game.
Yeah, he did something similar in Vegas as well. But, anyways, we're looking all right. And Skinner deal, I don't know. It's not looking so great. What it's done is, you know, I don't know if this is a rush, but Connor Ingram's up. Connor Ingram looked all right against Vegas. Would you say, though, from a goalie perspective, both of these goaltenders, Jarry and Ingram, and I mean Picard, they move a lot better laterally than Skinner does?
Yeah, I think
Like
so. Skinner was
even
big.
even
Skinner was big, and when he was in good position, the puck would hit him. But if you make a move and you make a couple of good passes, then suddenly he doesn't have the side to side to get back in position a lot of the time. So teams figured that out.
Ingram looked a little. There's rust, right? NHL players there's a big jump between the NHL and
There's a
the
big difference
AHL.
there's a big difference between 80-mile-an-hour shots and 92-mile-an-hour shots.
Yeah, yeah,
It's noticeable.
yeah. But I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think we probably on the same page here that we overpaid for Jarry. But I think though, maybe it's a tandem that we're going to see. Maybe when everything when everyone's healthy again, maybe it's an Ingram Jarry tandem and it's bye bye to Calvin Picard. The one thing I don't know what's going to happen here. Pause for a second and just mention something that I heard on Oiler Nation the other day, where they're talking about adding another defenseman, like an Ekholm Jr. type of shutdown guy, like a guy Amit is really wanting to see. And you got
some sort
Roslovic.
of like Brett Kulak type player.
Yeah, some sort of Brett Kulak type player, maybe a little bit more physical. What I don't understand though, again, is there is a salary cap. The last time we checked, how is all of this going to work?
Well, the reason it's worked so far is because they've always had a couple of
guys on IR. Right?
Yeah, so they've
so right now we've got 12
on the IR,
right?
Bowman on the IR. They've basically had Nugent Hopkins and Hyman on the IR forever, and so as long as you have two guys on IR, they can make the cap work. But this roster is starting to look a little bit like Vegas every year, where the roster can't actually be iced on any given day if everybody's healthy because you're way over the cap at that point.
Well, I mean, that's going to be a problem because the NHL's made this rule that you have to be cap compliant heading into the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't know how we're going to add another defenseman unless we send some money out. I mean, a couple people have suggested we move Jack Roslovic. I think that would be ridiculous because the chemistry that he has with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, his first game back, and by the way, that injury, I didn't even realize what that injury was, but thank God he's all right. And yeah, not a good injury. You hear about it?
I heard enough not to want to know anymore.
Yeah, I don't think I want to know anymore. But he stepped right in, and I was texting back and forth with a friend of mine, and he reminds me of another Jack. He reminds me of a poor man's Jack Eichel. Just the poise with the puck, and sometimes he's not even really moving his feet, and he just steps around you and he's gone. Right? He's very deceptive. I like the player.
Yeah, he's not going to get traded. He's making way too little money given what he's doing for the Oilers. So
the thought process is it's because he's getting paid so little, he's going to have a lot of value.
That's exactly true. If you want to move him, but you have to move him for like draft picks or something because you have to get under the cap.
What's going to happen, right?
Yeah, you got to trade somebody else who's more valuable cap wise, or who costs more cap wise, and get draft picks back for them. And
well, who? Jake Wallman? Like Trent Frederick?
You can't trade him to Detroit, right? That's out.
That's true.
But
yeah. I mean, another.
I don't think the Oilers really have a whole lot of grounds to improve their team at the deadline. They don't have a lot of assets to trade, and they don't have a lot of cap space to work with. And I'm sure they'll try to get creative, but your best bet is to try to bring in, some prospect who didn't work out somewhere else and see if they can make a go of it in Edmonton under $2 million a year, right?
Our offseason predictions are not holding up so well because the thought process we all had was this might be a little bit of a transition year, and then there's going to be 50 million in cap space. McDavid re-signing, so not quite 50 million. But, Bowman went on this shopping spree and locked everybody up when he said himself that, you need to remain fluid and remain flexible. I mean, how much is this cap going up? I keep hearing the cap's going up.
If it does go up, I mean, there's, a couple dozen players of note that are worth signing in the off season, and maybe 5 or 6 of them are like top end players. But the teams that they're with have the cap space to re-up them. So I'm pretty sure the teams that have a guy like Artemi Panarin are going to be interested in like renewing him, even if they'd rather replace him. Who are you going to replace him with, right? So
yeah.
I just don't see Adrian Kempe's like, is he leaving Los Angeles to test the free agent market? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So those are the kinds of names that are up there at the top of the UFA list, and they're going to get paid. If anybody does make it to free agency, they're going to get paid because everyone's going to have tons of money to throw at them. So you're going to have massive overpays on any player that you try to bring in through the free agent market next summer. So maybe it's kind of smart to lock in all of your players now with the lesser priced contracts, because the Oilers don't have to worry about paying players for the next 3 or 4 years because everybody's locked in already.
Well, they don't have to worry about paying players for the next few years because everyone's locked in, but these are all guys that are on the wrong side of 30, right?
Yeah, you got the team you got, right? And then they're just gonna take this team to the dance, right? This is what they got. So whether they win or they lose, this is their ride or die cruise, so to speak. It's there's no flexibility at all in this roster. And even if you have more cap space next year, I still don't think you have a whole lot of flexibility because the players just won't be there to go get.
Yeah.
So enjoy it, Oiler fans. This is your team. This is like the 80s where everybody's on the team the same year. No one gets traded, and we're just gonna chase cups with the exact same roster year after year for about 5 years.
Yeah. Well, some positive light, I guess, in their last game. We held on to beat Vegas, which was great. We should have probably tuned them, but the refs. And this is what annoys the crap out of me all the time: the game management. And the game management is so inconsistent. It depends who the team is that they're trying to get back into it's just crazy. But let's put that aside and let's talk about.
It's like playing Mario Kart. The team and the cart that's in the furthest back always gets all the best upgrades and gets back into the game. That's just
they do. It depends on who it is. It's not always it's right. But one notable roster move was Trent Frederick for the first time was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit of a message. But I mean, go back to Quinn Hughes. If he's not happy, you don't have to trade him. You can't trade him. You figure out how to work with the player they have, right?
Well, I mean, I think this is a step in the right direction, in my opinion, because we've got some guys coming back and there's going to be some competition. And you know what? If Frederick is hurt, I think it was low tide or I think it was low tide. Yeah, they were talking about him looking at the advanced stats on the skating. I think he's a solid 2 to 2.5 miles per hour or kilometers per hour, slower than he was in Boston. And so, 2.5 kilometers, he was top 15 or top 10 in the NHL speed-wise, and he's dropped down a couple of notches. So he's not getting there quick enough.
I'm not going to rate him as one of the top fastest skaters in the league. Not a chance. Not from what I've seen. That doesn't pass the eye test at all.
Apparently, when he was in Boston, he was up there. And so we're not seeing that's what they're saying. I mean, I didn't really watch him a ton. I just felt like they didn't do their due diligence like they always do. And they just saw him beat up Corey Perry and they're like, okay, we want this guy. But I mean, obviously they must have done some more digging than that. But I mean, if he's not healthy, then don't play, right? Heal, because you're not one of the top 12 forwards on this team, right?
Well, it goes back to the whole, baseball sabermetrics, Moneyball, replacement level players, right? What's your wins above replacement? And I don't have anything against Trent or him as a person or, what his teammates think of him, but swapping him out with another player in an Oilers jersey probably doesn't make a huge difference to your win-loss ratio at this point.
No, absolutely it doesn't.
So, like I said, the NHL players, they're all pretty good. They're good at hockey. You only have a couple players in any team that's really moving the needle. And so if you get another player out there, even like giving Isaac Howard some more games, then, is he going to hurt the team by giving away the puck? Probably not. Is he going to make a difference by scoring goals? Probably not. But Trent Frederick's right in the same category as well. So just give somebody else a look. Next up, see who can make it work. But
Well, I mean, the guy that
Trent
got
can take
injured.
Trent can take his time and try to get better, right? I think the Oilers can be patient with him. They got 7 years of contract with this guy, so there's no need to push him into the top 6 of the lineup every night. Just like let him just be Trent and try to take the pressure off of him.
Yeah, in Minnesota, I mean, that was my first thought: is what has he done to get second line right wing opportunities? What has he done? And so he goes from second line right wing to healthy scratch in a matter of 24 hours.
Yeah, well, you get your chances sometimes, and then you don't really do too much with them, right? So it's definitely a meritocracy in the NHL. No one's going to be in that position because of what they've done in the past or what their contract value says what position they should be playing. The coach has got an obligation to mix the lineup and help the team win. And if you're not doing that in the coach's mind, then sit down. Somebody else will take that ice time. And unfortunately for Trent, that's where he's at right now. But doesn't mean that the Oilers are slowing down. I mean, they continue to pick up the wins where they need to take the wins, and they're in pretty good shape heading into the last couple of games before the break here. Calgary coming up tonight.
Tonight's at home, right?
Yeah.
Calgary tonight is home.
Yeah.
Before we jump into our next game here, just really quickly, I will say though, contracts, I think they do come into play. If he wasn't signed for 7 years, I don't think he would have been playing up until last game. I think they've given him a lot of opportunities, but if he's on a 1 or a 2 year deal, I think he's out of the lineup a lot sooner. But back to Calgary tonight. And then I think you were going to mention we have them right after Christmas on Saturday as well.
That's right.
What are you thinking? You think we're going to carry on our momentum from Vegas?
Well, it's been a while since the Oilers have had a shot at Calgary. I think they played them on opening night last, right? And things were going pretty good up until the midway point of the hockey game, and then they started to turn, and then we got some Stuart Skinner adventures, and then the shootout. And I think we're going to see a pretty strong effort, especially in the opening 20 minutes from the Oilers, to just really open up this game and take it to Calgary. Calgary's got a very average team, and some nights their goaltending is really good, and some nights it's bad. And I think Calgary really struggles for consistency, and they don't have a lot of confidence right now. They win games and sometimes in streaks, and then they lose games in streaks too. And I think that if you can get on them early on a game like tonight, get a couple of goals in the first period, then I think you can probably ride that wave of success the rest of the way. The power play is still looking pretty good. The special teams, the penalty killing, looking fine too. So as long as you get a good team effort and you get some decent goaltending, then the top 6 will take care of the goals that you need and put the 2 points in the bank and go eat some turkey.
Back to that first game for a second here. We were joking around because things sort of took a turn for the worse right after we announced that we signed Roslovic in the intermission there. And I remember, might have been Ahmed that we were joking with it, being like, would you make that trade? Now, going forward, would you look back and be like, would you trade that loss for that roster move? I think we would, right?
Yeah. Any reports of what jersey color they're wearing tonight? Because as we know, the old vintage classic jerseys are extremely undefeated and good for about 6 or 7 goals against for some reason.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing when you mentioned that. I'm not sure. I think that there's given nights where they wear them. They're preordained, are they not?
Yeah, I don't know if they do like the color rush thing like the NFL does, where they have it on special nights. But
I heard that they're actually doing a revamp and they're having another third jersey for next year.
Okay, we're bringing back the Comet gear or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know. They mentioned that it's under design, so we'll see what happens. But my favorite jerseys are the ones that we wore in the 22 playoffs. What's my favorite jersey? The dark blue, the almost like the navy,
orange trim.
Yeah, with the orange trim.
Yeah, those are fun.
That's probably in the last 10 years. I do miss the Orange Crush though. They were great I didn't really like them when they were everyday home jerseys. I mean, it's not that I didn't like them, it's just that I was getting kind of tired of them. But I kind of miss those as well. Every once in a while, if they pull those out, those would be nice.
You'll never talk me out of the standard home jersey with the blue with the orange shoulders ever since 1981 or whatever it was. You'll never talk me out of those. I'm a classicist. Those are just perfect for me.
Got a sweatshirt on that matches that. I mean, I love those. Those used to actually be our road jerseys up until 2005, 2006 season, right? Where they decided they were going to go NFL and wear dark at home. I think back in the day in the NHL, they used to wear dark at home, right?
For a long time. It was ever since they came up with every team gets two jerseys, it was by default white at home and then dark on the road. And then they found that by doing some studies that the dark jerseys gave a very slight advantage for some reason psychologically. And so they decided that, and I think they sold better. And so they decided to make sure that the home teams are wearing dark to be able to sell more jerseys to the
Interesting.
crowd. Yeah.
Interesting. Back when jerseys were affordable.
Right. Yeah, you can get a hockey jersey, a ticket, and a hot dog for under $100.
Saw this rant yesterday. This guy, he buys a cap every couple of years, same team, and from 2021 to now, the same type of a cap has gone from $20, used to be like 10, right? Gone up to $20 just after COVID, whatever. And it was $40 in 23. And this year, guess how much you paid?
$60 for a hat.
$75.
Wow.
And that's because you can no longer curve the hat yourself. You have to get it steamed. They don't make standard sizes anymore. You have to get it custom sized. All these add-ons and stuff. It's insane.
Not even allowed to fix your John Deere tractor yourself anymore.
Yeah.
So of course your trucker hat, your farmer hat has to go up to match the same business model.
Probably.
Next thing you know, they'll sell you a license to the hat. You know, you have to pay a monthly subscription fee for it.
For the to wear the license or to wear the logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're getting close here to the hour, I think. Predictions for tonight and on Saturday.
I'm gonna chalk them up for a 5-2 win this afternoon against Calgary, and then coming back on the return engagement, we'll go with 3-2 win on that one.
You think we're going to sweep them?
Yeah, I think they're going to get 2 wins out of 2 games here.
I'm just checking the schedule. So we've got Calgary, and then on the 29th, we've got Winnipeg, and then on New Year's Eve, we've got Boston. So I guess we'll probably not. I guess I mean if we do the pod next Tuesday, we'll talk about those 3 games, right? So what do you think? You think they'll beat Winnipeg? Is Winnipeg at home? No, it's in Winnipeg. 4:30 Pacific start on Monday. So okay, 5-2, 3-2. What do you think is going to happen in the Jets game? Is Hellebuyck back?
Hellebuyck back?
I think Hellebuyck is back.
I'm going to give that one 2-1 to Winnipeg if Hellebuyck's back between the pipes.
Yeah. All right. Another question. I think we're going to beat Calgary twice as well. I think we're going to beat them like something like 5-2, 6-2 tonight. And it's going to be closer in Calgary, maybe a 2-1 win. And I think we'll lose to Winnipeg as well. I'm going to agree with you. Goaltending. Next 3 games, what are we seeing? How many games is Connor Ingram going to get? 2 or 1? Or 3?
They're going to go Pickard, Ingram, Pickard.
You think he's going to get 1 game?
Yeah.
And Calvin's going to roll?
I'll roll Calvin for 2 and Ingram for 1.
So he's going to be our de facto starter, yeah?
Yeah, that means your best option.
When's the roster freeze end?
Don't remember.
You think we're going to get another goaltender by the time it's all said and done?
No, I think they'll wait for Jarry to come back. They'll try to roll 2 weeks with Ingram and Pickard.
Yeah.
3 weeks, whatever it takes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless Pickard just keeps letting in 4 goals a night and they put Ingram in and he doesn't have an answer either, then you have to get a goalie. But I think they're going to try to spend a couple weeks just sticking with what they have.
Then we might have to give up Roslovic for Alex Line or something, right? If that happens.
I don't think they're going to make another trade. I think just the price is too high to bring in another goalie. Everyone knows Edmonton's kind of desperate. And you just hope that something shakes free, waiver wire, some sort of Olympic situation, something happens that, you get a little bit of movement in the NHL creases. Buffalo's obviously got the assets to move a goalie. So that's your key target. But I think they're going to try to be patient and just hope that Calvin can give his career one last chance. Because if he really doesn't do well here in the next couple of weeks, I think, that's probably the end of the story for Calvin Pickard. And I think he'll,
at least at the NHL level.
And I think the team's going to rally around that. I think they know him well enough, and I think he knows the opportunity well enough to put in a good effort here.
Yeah, I think they're going to give Ingram 2 starts. We'll see. You're probably right, though. I just want to. I mean, he's definitely going to get one of the Calgary games for sure. Right?
I mean, they're spread out far enough, so not necessarily.
I think he's definitely gonna get one of them. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think by the time they play the Flames twice and Winnipeg once, Ingram's going to get one start, but I'm just not sure which one of those.
All right, man. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, get a W tonight, and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. Hopefully, we got some more Oiler goals under the tree.
Hopefully. All right, we will sign off, and I'm sure we will talk to you later offline. I'm sure. Everyone else out there, thanks for tuning in, and have a great Christmas, and we'll talk to you guys in a week.